Good morning from the Amazon rainforest. In a previous video I made, which was provocatively titled Raw Vegan or Vegan Nutrition Factoid Debunked, my main premise, which maybe some people didn't quite understand, my main premise was that I was trying to explain some people eat a raw vegan or fruitarian diet and maybe mix that with raw till 4 once in a while for many years, and their health is amazing at first. Obviously it gets much better and they solve a whole bunch of health problems, but after some years things start going wrong, things start going downhill. They have various complaints, and there has been this culture created in the raw vegan and fruitarian community that you're not really allowed to talk about those things if you start to have serious doubts that you start really going downhill. Yeah, you can ask for help from some people in some groups, and a lot of times you're given this superfluous advice because no one really is allowed to admit that there may actually be some nutritional issues, specific nutritional issues. So instead they dispense a lot of advice like, oh, you just need to meditate more, you need to eat more, carb the fuck up more, you need to exercise a little bit more and try doing this and that and that. You know, there is very little in the way of actually admitting that perhaps jumping right into our ancient ancestral diet after generations of random shit, maybe that's not like the best idea. Maybe there's a bit of nuance, maybe you need to consider a lot of things, maybe you need to use your brain. Obviously that's kind of an issue because instead of trying to really help people and really admit maybe there are actually some genetic or nutritional issues, we just wait till people fail totally and make ex-vegan videos where they're eating toasted Italian bread and bacon and eggs for breakfast and being like, I feel way better now, and then us being like, wait, and then all the dumb people just commenting, well, you were never even vegan, you were just plant-based. I feel bad for all those baby pigs that you're eating right now. Heart crying, smiley face emoji. I don't know what those things are called. Anyways, that's kind of the state of where things are at right now. So with this nice scenery in front of us, I'm going to talk about, well, what I think the natural diet for humankind is. I'm not really qualified to talk about that, but I'm going to do it anyways. And whether I think fasting and a raw vegan diet can fix genetic issues, some of the nutrient-related genetic issues that I talked about in the past video, and also the Durian Rider carb the F up advice. So what are humans supposed to eat? That's an impossible question to answer. First of all, I don't want anyone making debunking videos of me, being like, this guy thinks he's a doctor, he's dispensing nutritional advice on YouTube, he's just a shill trying to make money, I'm going to debunk all his points. So let me just start off by saying everything I'm saying right now could be wrong, alright? Take that with a grain of salt. Take everything with a grain of salt, alright? Anyways, so, Homo sapiens, we've been around for 500,000 to 1 million years. So, when we're talking about diet, how do we even arrive at what our natural diet is? There's our ancient ancestral diet, which would have been around what we were eating for hundreds of thousands of years. And then a tiny blip in that is our more recent ancestral diet, which is what we started eating after a lot of global catastrophes and mass extinction events throughout the past 100,000 years. We started migrating into continents like Europe and Asia. Various different races of humans began developing. Diets changed a lot. We started eating different things. So that was a very small blip in our existence. So you can say our ancient ancestral diet was what we ate for the vast majority of our existence. That was what our bodies and brains evolved on. And then in the past 20, 30, 40, 50 plus thousand years, generally less than 100,000 years, we would have started doing things like hunting woolly mammoths in the northern plains of Europe, and I don't know, hunting panda bears in China. I don't really know what they did 20,000 years ago. Oh yes, large, high-altitude ruminant animals. Anyways, and then there's the modern diet that we just started eating. The tiniest blip, the 1% of the 1%, the 1% of the 1%, as Bernie Sanders would say, of our history, of our genetic history. We have been eating things like McDonald's and Coca-Cola, right? So we have these three different dietary ideas. So as for the ancient ancestral diet, it's very obvious anatomically that we are classified as frugivores. In fact, the father of modern taxonomy, Carolus Linnaeus, classified us as frugivores, right? You could add the word opportunistic, as a friend of mine would always do. Opportunistic frugivores, right? So what is a frugivore? The best examples are the two animals in nature that are the most genetically similar to us of any animal. Now, remember that the next time you read an article on a paleo website about how we are the most similar to wolves, therefore we should eat like wolves, right? research that a bit, you'll find out we're actually a lot more similar to chimpanzees and bonobos, right? So what are the chimpanzees and the bonobos eating? I'm not saying that we have to eat like them. I'm just trying to get somewhere here, right? So they eat a frugivorous diet also because they're frugivores. And what does that consist of? Consists of primarily fruit, also large amounts of rough leafy greens, wild greens, and a small amount of things like nuts and tubers and roots, and a small amount of animal products, okay? So the bonobo is more similar to us than the chimpanzee. So the chimpanzee is slightly farther away genetically. The chimpanzee eats more greens and also more animal products, okay? Specifically more animal products. It might, based on the research that I've read about chimpanzee diet, it'll be maybe around 5-6% of its calories from animal products, whereas the bonobo, some bonobo tribes might be 1 to 3%. Now it varies from tribe to tribe and location to location, but the bonobos eat a smaller amount of animal products. Now let's compare the bonobos to the humans. The humans have, the most obvious difference is that the humans have a smaller colon, right? So obviously humans, the frugivorous diet of humans would include significantly less rough greens than bonobos, right? It may also indicate that humans are less equipped to handle the anti-nutrients found in wild greens. So again, we should be eating less of them, right? There's no indication that we should be eating less fruit. So basically the animal most genetically similar to us, and then if you look at the trajectory of the animals moving from chimpanzee to bonobo to human, the trend is they're eating a fruit-based diet with small amounts of greens, other plant matter, and tiny amount of animal products. The bonobo consumes less animal products than the chimpanzee, and then the human has a smaller colon than both. So the general trajectory is less greens and less animal products. Really, I think this is better than showing my face for the entire video, right? And then I also don't get self-conscious. Anyways, so at some point a lot of environmental catastrophe happened and various other things, and humans migrated out of wherever they originated from and started going all around the world. And so that's when you started having a lot more meat consumption, right? So of course, in a very short period of time, humans did evolve and adapt to that, and not so much our bodies didn't change that much. They did change a little bit. There are some obvious changes that resulted from that, but more importantly, our brains, our intelligence got evolved in the tribes that went towards northern climates. For example, people that are in modern day China, Russia, Europe. We ended up being able to use tools a lot better, make clothes to stay warm, make leather and things like that, and then also consuming lots of animals during the winter. Now, when I say during the winter, that's very important. Why is that important, you might ask? It's important because when people promoting the paleo diet and various carnivore-type diets insist that we should be in ketosis year-round and eating a primarily meat diet year-round, that doesn't make any sense historically, because even looking at the black bear, which lives in winter cold climates, during the winter they're in hibernation. Just before and after the winter, of course, they're hunting, but once you hit berry season, they actually eat a primarily fruitarian diet, consuming as much as 180,000 berries in a single day, right? The same thing with tribes of humans in northern climates. Obviously, when plant material and fruit was available, they would eat as much of that as they can because it's much easier to get that than it is meat. Now it's making sense how I added the word opportunistic to the word frugivore, because whatever we have the opportunity to eat in the situation, we would eat, and our bodies evolved somewhat to be able to accommodate that. Now, if you eat a frugivorous diet containing small amounts of animal products, as the tooth-wear patterns of our ancient ancestors clearly show, and then for about 40,000 years or whatever, you eat a diet that has a bit more animal products in it, due to having migrated to northern climates, two things happen, right? Your body adapts to be able to better digest and utilize animal products, right? So you slightly more carnivorous, but you're still frugivorous, right? You just adapt a little bit better. Another thing happens, you lose some of the ability to convert the nutrients found in plants to the nutrients found in animals, because you don't need it, because that's how evolution works, because evolution is very efficient, right? So that's why men have such a low ability to convert ALA, omega-3, into DHA, because for so many years we did not need it. When we were living in the tropics 400,000 years ago and eating a more frugivorous diet, more fruit-based, and a very small amount of animal products, probably less than the bonobos, according to all anatomical and genetic evidence, we probably could convert a lot more ALA into omega-3 into DHA, or maybe just a small amount of animal products that we ate was enough DHA. But after many, many years of hunting mammoths, probably men who are on the hunting expeditions and were eating more meat than the women who were stuck back at the homestead lost that ability even more so than women, because like I said, we didn't need it. So nowadays, in modern times, after 100 years of Coca-Cola and McDonald's, people jumping back into a fruitarian raw vegan diet, no animal products at all, what's happening to them? They're realizing that a lot of men have lost that ability. That's why I've seen a lot of mentally ill men in the raw vegan community. Some have kind of done some things and gotten better and have become less mentally ill. Others have become more mentally ill, right? Again, I'm not really trying to debunk anyone here or say that a specific diet is wrong. I'm not trying to say that you should eat animal products if you don't want to, or this and that, or you should take supplements if you don't want to. I'm just trying to add a bit of context. A lot of raw vegans have selective memories. They don't remember just how many people have made ex-vegan, ex-fruitarian videos in the last 10 years that I've been in this world. How many well-known people in the raw vegan community have started eating meat again. If you are an ethical vegan and your goal is for people to eat less animals, or if you're a non-ethical fruitarian raw vegan, you just care about people being healthy, either way, you should be really concerned, and you should be trying to solve this problem and figuring out how to get people to be healthy. Because obviously people are not going to continue, well, some people, most people are not going to continue eating a diet that contains few or no animal products if they think it's making them really unhealthy. Some people will, but surprisingly, most people will not. So what do you do about that? Obviously, for example, Dr. Greger might recommend that vegans take a algae-based DHA supplement, right? Some people might say take a zinc supplement. So obviously there's some supplements that can correct these long-term issues that some people have experienced. Some people simply don't like taking supplements, and they don't care so much about ethical veganism. They just want to be healthy while harming as few animals as possible. For those people, rather than gorging on steak, maybe they could check out the Entovegan guy's website, entovegan.com. A lot of people will cringe when I say this, right? And I know the global elites want us to eat insects, right? But anyways, this guy, he's really fit. He's got a lot of muscle. He has a great website showing pictures of cricket tacos in Mexico and stuff like that. He doesn't eat super pure. You know, he eats like fried stuff and this and that. But he shows a very interesting solution for people who might otherwise be tempted to read all the paleo literature online and just go full paleo after 10 years of fruitarian that didn't feel so good, right? They might instead try his approach, because supposedly it fills all the gaps that supposedly don't exist in the vegan diet. Now, for some people they don't exist, but for some people they do, and that's what I'm trying to explain here. Now, this other question that was asked in that previous video of mine was, well, obviously fasting and a raw vegan diet can cure these genetic issues that prevent you from converting ALA into DHA, right? Well, I'm not so sure about that, right? Now, I firmly believe that we can just manifest whatever we want. If we want something with our health, we simply have to fast and eat clean and do this and that, right? But it doesn't always work out that way, right? You could want something and it could still just not happen, you know? Like in that Rolling Stones song. You might only get what you need and not what you want, okay? There's always a risk of that. So, fasting is a great way to detoxify the body. So if there are issues that you have caused by toxins in the body fasting might do that. According to my research, dry fasting is the best way to cure genetic issues. But if we're talking about tens of thousands of years of slowly losing the trait of being able to convert ALA into DHA and various other things, sorry, like a little bit of fasting and eating a raw vegan diet is not going to fix those genetic issues necessarily. It may make it better, and like I said, there are studies clearly showing that if you consume less animal products, your body increases its ability to convert ALA to DHA, but obviously that's not enough for some people. That doesn't happen to everybody. Not everyone is that lucky. So my answer to that question is maybe, but probably not. Now, the last thing, several people commented on my previous video suggesting that people who have problems after 5, 6, 7 years on a raw vegan or fruitarian diet or raw till 4 diet or whatever simply need to consume more carbohydrates. They need to carb the F up, as Durian Redder would say. Now, on the surface, this is a reasonable suggestion, because when the body is not in ketosis, it is a true fact the body is running on glucose. Every cell in the body is running on glucose, which is sugar. So if you don't feel good, Perhaps it's because you don't have enough gasoline in the engine. You simply aren't consuming enough sugar to fuel your cells, right? Yes, okay, so that's a good hypothesis. So let's test it. I've seen it tested many, many times over the years. What I've seen is a lot of people really pouring their hearts out and saying, I have this problem, I have that problem. Other people suggesting they simply need to carb the F up, and if they still have problems, they're just lying about what they're eating, which is literally what Durian Rider suggests. All problems are caused by not carbing the F up, and if anyone still has problems, they're just lying about what they're eating. I've watched many Durian Rider videos where he basically says exactly that. I've seen a lot of people with problems basically just told to consume more carbohydrates. I think that's great advice for people who are just starting out eating a lot of fruit. Me, myself, towards the beginning, I was easily able to consume 30 or 40 bananas in a day. What I found out over time was I could eat less and less fruit. It was literally impossible. My ability to actually absorb and digest sugar, absorb sugar, just plummeted over the years. I could eat a quarter of a watermelon, I would get horrible melon belly. I could not eat banana smoothies like I used to. I couldn't even eat whole. Everyone's advice, oh, just eat whole bananas. Instead, okay, same problem. Stomach aches, melon belly from everything. Watch Andrew Perlot's video saying, oh, maybe you have a chromium deficiency, take chromium supplement. Okay, that works for a little bit, but why is this still a problem, etc., etc., etc. Other things, for example, someone suggested to me that I consume a lot of wild stinging nettle, right? Which has a lot of chlorophyll and minerals that would help. But okay, so then the issue is people will be getting mineral deficiencies after all this time, eating supermarket fruit and things like bananas, which are just terrible to base your diet on. Getting these mineral deficiencies that cause them to not even be able to absorb as much sugar. And so they're not even able to eat as much sugar because they get so bad melon belly. And then there's these people telling them they need to carb the F up, and if they don't, they're just lying about what they're eating and this and that. I've seen people gain weight on fruit. I used to believe firmly that you could not gain weight eating a fruit diet. Yet I saw so many people, not so many, but there did exist people who were totally eating the raw vegan diet and they were just gaining weight. And they were really pure people that I lived with too, so I know they weren't lying about their diet. And so that's another thing that Durian Rider said that I found it to be totally wrong. Yes, for most people, if you have good metabolism, you can eat massive amounts of fruit and do fine. But there's some people who, believe it or not, their bodies simply are just a little bit different and they just can't eat maybe they have some problems, maybe they have some deficiencies, I don't know, and they just gain weight. Or after some years, you just can't consume as much fruit. And anyways, the problems that I've been talking about are, like, mental health issues are linked to DHA deficiencies, zinc and copper imbalances, things like that, right? So it doesn't really satisfy Occam's. On the surface, it seems like it satisfies Occam's razor, but when you look into it, it doesn't, because sugar deficiency doesn't really explain these long-term issues people are having, especially when you consider that many of them did try carbing the F up, increasing their sugar intake for many years, and did not see these problems improve or made them worse. So I don't want to speak like I'm the authority on the subject, but I have been around for a long time. I've seen tons and tons of people. I have lived with dozens and dozens and dozens of raw vegans and fruitarians. I've seen a lot of this stuff. So when I say this, I've seen people carb the F up and have that advice simply not work and it doesn't solve the problem. It's because I've seen it lots and lots of times. I've seen people try that and have it not work. And me personally, it worked for me at first to increase sugar intake. When I was low energy, it worked fine. But after some time, it just, after some years, I had problems, and I didn't really want to tell people because I didn't want them to be like, say those things that people say. Like, okay, I know of this one lady. If I said her name, a lot of you would know who she is. She started eating meat again after many, many years on the 80-10-10 diet. She should have eaten more carbs. I don't know. She was literally one of Doug Graham's students. She's very well known. She was definitely not under-consuming carbs, right? Her health was just going downhill. For some years, and she did not make an ex-vegan video. A lot of people don't. They just quietly go away from the scene because they're not seeing the support that they need. They're not seeing people being honest that there are nutritional issues, and I think there are ways to solve these issues. There are a number of ways to solve these issues. I did mention two things that probably aren't helpful for a lot of people. Like I mentioned, taking certain supplements, but then you have to do a lot of research into what your actual problem is. And I mentioned, of course, the ento-vegan guy, which a lot of people, some people will love that idea, some people will hate that idea. All right, just, I'm already prepared for that, I know. Anyways, other things that you can do is, of course, being aware of, I keep talking about DHA, that's just one of these issues, right? But it's one of the biggest issues. Being aware of how much omega-6 you are consuming, because so many raw vegans base their fat intake on avocados. and other things that are very high in omega-6. And the problem is your body simply can't convert as much ALA to DHA if you're consuming tons of omega-6, because it uses the same rate-limiting enzyme to convert omega-6 and to convert omega-3. Converts omega-6 into an inflammatory substance. So it's like kind of you're using up all this enzyme if you consume tons and tons of omega-6, so you can't even convert as much omega-3. So you should be focusing on things like, so flax, chia, macadamia, walnut, and hemp seed, right? Those 5 things have pretty good pretty low omega-6 to 3 ratios, which is what you want. Also, greens have good omega-6 to 3 ratios. But then focusing on too many dark greens, you get a lot of anti-nutrients. If you ferment your nuts, and to some extent your seeds, and ferment your greens to the extent that you can, you're reducing the oxalic acid in the green and the phytic acid in the nuts. You're greatly increasing your mineral intake. So you're more likely to get, for example, lots of zinc and less copper, right? You're more likely to not have a zinc or copper imbalance if you're fermenting your nuts, and therefore the minerals aren't being bound up by phytic acid. That's something I'm saying with authority, because you can actually review peer-reviewed studies where it not only says that phytic acid and oxalic acid reduce the intake of a number of minerals, but that fermentation in food also decreases the amount of phytic acid and oxalic acid. Peer-reviewed studies clearly say that, so you should start thinking about that. Now, if you're crazy and you're a horrible person, you just want to kill tons of little tiny animals, insects, if you're just a horrible person, right, and you go down that route, what you'll find is a lot of the things that people might have issues with on a vegan diet that are giving them these long-term problems that they're reporting in these videos, things like DHA, zinc, iodine, B12, these things are found in insects, right? So that's why the Ento-Vegan guy says it fills that gap perfectly. Not to mention protein. I think, like for example, crickets have higher percent of protein than even chicken, right? I think it's like double or something. I forget the numbers. Anyways, so if you are just like a horrible, horrible, horrible person, you just want to kill tons of little tiny animals, right? No, I don't recommend this because it's not ethical vegan at all, right? You're just going to go to hell if you do this. But if you are experiencing problems long-term on a raw vegan diet and you don't want to take supplements, and you also don't want to fall in love with all the paleo literature and just start eating beef all day long, because anatomically we're really not carnivores. If you are all those things and a horrible, totally unethical person, and just want to see all these insects suffer and die, then you can check that out, right? It's certainly an option for you, and it would meet all these nutrient requirements without having to take supplements or kill lots of larger animals. And the other interesting thing is it would fall in line perfectly, aside from the fact that probably you're cooking the insects, because who's going to eat them raw? That's gross. Aside from the cooking, you are falling in line perfectly with our ancient ancestral frugivorous diet. All right, that's all I have to say, folks. Hopefully I made some people nice and offended, ruffled a few feathers there. Please don't comment below the video saying stuff like, oh, does this mean you're giving up raw veganism and eating beef all day? No, I never said that. Also, don't comment below trying to debate with me that you think eating insects is unethical. I already made it very clear in this video that it's very unethical and you're a horrible person if you do it. It's also a great solution for solving a lot of nutrition problems without taking a bunch of supplements. For those of you who don't like supplements and also are horrible people and don't care about animals, made it so clear, very unethical, very horrible thing to do, right? So do not go to entovegan.com, take supplements instead if you have problems, right? No debates below the video. That's all. Have a great day, folks. Yeah. Signing out from the Amazon jungle. If you so much as step on an ant on the ground, you're not vegan anymore. You're just plant-based.